Hi, this is Gayle Suzanne, and welcome to Moving Forward with Gayle Suzanne. Today is such a beautiful day outside. It's just, I asked them if we could do the show outside, but I guess we can't, so we're just going to have to make do with being inside. I got my little glasses on today because I'm just feeling really great about things. Today, we are going to talk, it's going to be a two-part series today, and we're going to talk about getting through a divorce and how to make some changes in your life that will help you during the process, after the process, if you have children, if you don't have children, and then part two will be on the wonderful world of dating when you're single. I had gone through a divorce in 1997, so 21 years ago. And like most people that get divorced, it pretty much rocked my world. I had a 4-year-old daughter at the time, and I was living in our family home, and I didn't want to disrupt the home. So I thought of every way possible that I could keep the house and buy my ex out so I wouldn't have to move her and move myself from the house, in addition to all the other upheaval that was going on in our lives. So what I did, against the advice of everybody that I know, was I had a 401k, I had some money in my 401k, and I withdrew it early, and I know all the penalties, all of this, all of that, but for me at that time, it was the best decision. And I was able to take the money out at a young age, and I had more than enough time to build it back up, and I was able to stay in the house. When you get divorced, it's like pretty much learning to live all over again. You had to relearn how to just think as a single person, because I was with my ex for many years, probably 14 or 15 years. I met him when I was 18 years old. So when I'm a woman of 34 and I have a young child, it was really difficult. One of the things that happened with me after the divorce was that I felt I had low self-esteem. I had low self-worth. I was afraid to get back out there, and I knew I shouldn't get back out there right away. I knew I needed to take some time for myself just to get myself back on track and maybe become a healthier, more solid person. I was pretty insecure. I wasn't confident in myself, and I think I needed to build myself back up. I mean, there's that other roadrunner part of me that just wanted to run as fast as I could into another relationship. But I knew at the time that it was best for me to kind of take some time off, have no relationship, just concentrate on my daughter, concentrate on getting me to the point where I would be a healthy partner. Some of the things that I struggled with was feeling that I was a failure because the marriage didn't work. I felt like I couldn't handle myself, I couldn't make a relationship work. And my thoughts and my words about myself were really pretty tough. They were very harsh. Instead of being gentle with myself, instead of being kind and just helping myself gently get through this process and learn how to live again as a single person, as a single mother, which I had never been a single mother before, I had to look at my words and how I was talking to myself. And it really wasn't that great. It was more on the lines of, instead of, you know what, good for you, you're gonna make it through, you're making every day count with your daughter, you're taking good care of her, she's going to school, she's thriving, you're doing well, Gayle, you're working, you're putting a roof over your head. Instead of saying all those good, positive things to myself, I would be like, wow, you're never going to find anybody. There's nobody else. There's nobody good out there. Your list of items that you want for a mate is too long. There's no such thing as perfection out there. You're never going to find what you want. You failed at this marriage. What makes you think you're going to be a success at any other relationship? You're going to be alone forever. And my worst nightmare was, as far as living alone, was to like choke on a piece of broccoli and be dead on my kitchen floor and like having bugs eat at me when the postman peers through the window. That was my biggest fear. I didn't want to be alone. I was afraid of being alone. And all these negative things that I was telling myself wasn't doing any good at all. So one of the first things I had to do after my divorce was I had to learn to talk nicely about myself to myself. I had to uplift myself, encourage myself. And it sounds kind of strange, but when we really think about the stuff that we talk to ourselves about, sometimes it is really, really negative. And I had to become aware of when those things were popping in my head, that I would turn it around into something positive. For example, after a year, I was still single. And it would come to my head, well, gosh, Gayle, if you haven't found anybody in a year, you're never going to find anybody. There's no one out there. That would pop into my head. As soon as those things popped into my head, I had to tell myself something positive. And I would say, you know what? The person for you is out there. He just hasn't shown up yet. Or things haven't worked out so you can meet him yet. Or maybe, Gayle, you're just not ready yet. Maybe you are not ready to jump into a relationship or to get into a relationship until you figure things out for yourself. When I was growing up, I had low self-worth. I was bullied. My mother was an alcoholic. There was a lot of rough things that happened to me. And as a result, I grew up and entered into the marriage of wanting somebody to always take care of me, to fix my brokenness, because I felt so bad about myself. Now when I get married, I have somebody that's going to take care of me and be my knight in shining armor and always be there for me and always do whatever it is that I needed. And I don't think that was healthy at that point. And as I look back on my marriage, you do these things unconsciously sometimes. And for me, I had to get rid of all that gunk that was inside of me, that low self-esteem, that low self-worth, that I can't take care of myself. Somebody else has to take care of me. I'm worthless unless I'm loved by a man. All those things I had to look at. And so when a relationship wasn't coming from me, I figured, well, maybe I still have some work to do on myself. And one of those was self-talk. Another one was recognizing my goodness. Gayle, you may not be a supermodel, but wow, you're a hell of a nice person. You're a nice girl. You're reasonable. You're patient. You're rational. You have a lot of good qualities. You're honest. You're loyal. You're funny. There's a lot of good things about you, and it sounds so weird, but you have to tell yourself some good stuff. And another thing that's so important is surrounding yourself with people that see the best in you. There is nothing like having friends that look at you and say, wow, you can do anything. Anything you set your mind to do, you can do. You've got it all. You're a great partner. You would be a great partner. Anybody to uplift you, to encourage you, to make you feel that you are special, because you are special. When you're surrounded with negative people that say, oh, everything you do is wrong, that's not right, you're not good enough, you're not perfect enough, whatever it is, because I was surrounded by my mother. Now, I remember when I went to an 8th grade dance, and I came home and I was really upset because this boy I liked didn't ask me to dance, and I came home and I was crying. And I remember my mother sitting down on the bed. This was her kind pep talk, and she sat down on the bed and she goes, well, Gayle, there must be something wrong with you, why he didn't ask you to dance. And that statement stuck with me for years. Because if my mother, who's supposed to love me unconditionally, told me there was something wrong with me, there must have been something wrong with me. And I carried that my whole life until I was in my mid-30s, when I'm like, you know what? I may not be ideal or perfect. Nobody is. But I don't think there's anything wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with anybody. We are who we are. All of us have flaws. All of us have things we have to work on. But no one is unworthy of finding a partner or finding love. No one. And I learned that, 25 years after she told me that. And I don't know if that was her way of being kind to me or trying to get me out of my head or whatever, but it totally didn't help me for my life. And sometimes we hear these things, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, who would ever love you, those kind of things. And those are just untruths. I had to learn when I was in my 30s that just because someone said it at some point in my life did not mean it was true. Just because someone said something that was pretty negative did not mean that negative thing was me or was going to happen to me. So I had to retrain my brain when I was newly single, telling myself, you know what? I am God's child. I'm unique. I'm a good person. I have talents. I have good qualities, just like everybody else. And it's time for me to hone in on those things rather than always focus on the negative. I am definitely one for improving yourself and making your life more satisfying and looking at behaviors that might not serve your highest good. But I am also very strongly committed to championing yourself, to inspiring yourself, to being kind to yourself. And one of those ways is by surrounding yourself with people who are kind to you and see the greatness in you and the beauty in you. And will also tell you the truth. You know, if there is something that you're doing that, you know, if you fly off the handle at everything that happens and you're flipping out and, you know, you may need to surround yourself with people that will gently and kind you tell you, hey, look, you know, that behavior is not cool. It's not, you know, it's hurting people. It's not getting you what you want. Let's try this instead. I mean, going to counseling, going to a therapist, going to groups, things like that are so helpful sometimes when we have these issues that are kind of holding us back. And it's wonderful to have people who are honest in your life, but who are honest with love and kindness and not with criticism and judgment and harshness and just meanness. You know, and you might be saying, well, I can't get rid of the people in my life that are negative. I can't, you know, just shut the door on them because they're in my life. And what you can do is you can detach from them. You can not spend as much time with them. You can set boundaries with them and say, you know, I really don't want to hear that right now, or that's not encouraging to me, that's not helpful, it's just hurtful. Say it nicely, detach with love, and then just, you know, kind of find common ground with that person. So when you're talking to them, you're not talking to them about your relationship or anything like personal. You could talk about, you know, your puppy or the weather or what was on TV. You know, keep it limited rather than getting into your personal stuff if they want to judge you on that. Another thing about divorce that you have to go through is money issues. I know this was an issue for me. You know, you have two incomes, you have two incomes, one house, two incomes, one phone bill, and now you have two places to live, two phone bills, two electric bills. And it gets tough, especially when you have children that have to go to school, you have to clothe them, you have to take care of all their sports needs and everything. You know, it really, really adds up. And I wanted to do fun things with my daughter. I wanted us to maintain a fun quality of life and do things, but I had to be smart about it. I had to think outside the box. I had to really come up with ways for a minimal amount of money for us to go out and have a good time. And there were certain things that I did that really helped out a lot. My girlfriend and I she had two young children, I had my daughter, so every Monday night we would switch houses and we would go over each other's houses and we would make dinner. She would make this incredible steak dinner wrapped in gorgonzola and bacon, and I would pretty much open up the freezer and pick out a lean cuisine, whatever one you want. But we had fun. Every Monday night we did that since my daughter was 4 years old. Her son was a couple years younger, and they played so well together. And she and I got a chance to talk, and we had adult time. It only cost dinner, which we would have been making anyway, and it was just nice for me to have company, for her to have company, and for the kids to play together. And we did that every single Monday for, I don't know, several years. And it was wonderful, and it didn't cost a lot of money. Bartering with people is another thing that's a great way to save some money, save some time. Because another thing when you're a single parent and you're single and you have kids is they have soccer practice, they have baseball practice, they have school bus, they have school projects, all of these things. And sometimes you're only one person, and if you're working, you can't do everything. So it's good to barter with people. Say, okay, I'm going to take, on the bus stop, we had 5 kids at the bus stop. Well, gee, there's 5 days of the week. So rather than 5 parents being there and 5 kids every single day, each of our parents took a shift. So one took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if the child was sick or not going to school that day or getting a ride, the parent off duty would call the on duty parent and just tell them, okay, Susie's not going to be at the bus stop. And that way I could leave for work earlier, knowing that my daughter was going to be safe and sound on the bus, and other people can do what they needed to do to juggle their schedules. Same thing with soccer practice. You know, if one of her friends or a couple of her friends had soccer practice and they lived up the street from us, well, why not? I'll take Tuesday night practice. I'll bring all the kids home. And if you can take Monday night practice and bring my daughter home, that'll save a bunch of time. You know, a lot of this is reaching out and asking for help and asking to barter. But a lot of the people that I went out with and did this with were other single parents. And it really helped us out, you know, because we had jobs to do. We had things that we had to do in order to juggle everything. As far as other money things, you can have pizza night, make your own pizza. Make your own ice cream Sunday night and have movie night. Shut all the lights out, put the candles on, get a Snuggie blanket, have a hot fudge sundae. Let the kids put all their toppings on. Invite some neighborhood kids over. I would have scavenger hunts with her and her friends. We would have so much fun. I would hide little things in the bushes and give them clues, and they had a ball. It would last for hours, and you know what? It cost nothing because I would find the stuff in the house and I would just put it outside. And sometimes I'd have little Easter eggs that I would hide all over. And it was just, you know, we would play bingo, we'd play board games, we would blow bubbles, we'd pitch a tent out in the backyard and have a little sleepover in the backyard, which I absolutely hated, but, you know, the kids thought it was fun. Just little things, play cave, play anything in the house, go to the park. And honestly, one time I remember going through all coat pockets and underneath the couch and in the cushions and in the dryer, and I found like $18, something. It was like $17 and something cents. And it was crazy because we went out and we had pizza that night, you know, because my budget at the time was basically twice a month we could go out and, you know, maybe go out to dinner or something, spend a little extra. It was really tight for money. So I'm like, well, why not look through the couch cushions? And I did find money there. Another thing that I would do for vacations is just take some, any coins that I got from whatever and just throw them in the little coin jar. And by the end of a few months, there was like $20, $25 in there. We could go out and do something with that. I mean, it may not sound like a ton of money, but it was enough for us to get a little treat, for us to, you know, kind of treat ourselves a little bit. Money is an issue. Get hand-me-downs from other people that you know. If you know other parents with children who are a little bit older, you know, ask them, would you mind giving me your hand-me-downs rather than giving them to the boxes that are on the streets, or half and half. You know, so many things you can do with money. You can cut down on your expenses by maybe getting rid of HBO, getting rid of those subscriptions that you have. You know, life it's what you make it, and I still think it can be a lot of fun and very enjoyable even without a ton of money. It's definitely an adjustment when you're going from 2 incomes to 1, but there's definitely room in there to enjoy yourself and to have a good time. And basically, the best times ever are when you are with the people that you love, when you're with your children, when you're with your child, you're with your animals, to just spend time and be present. And that's another thing to just be aware of when you are in this singlehood, is to be present rather than thinking, I'll be happy when I find a man. I'll be happy when she's out of high school. I'll be happy when I am madly in love. Or it could be a million things. And a lot of us fall into that. I'm so miserable now, but I'll be happy when I find a man who will treat me like gold and solve all my problems. Well, that's not going to happen. That's not realistic. So try being happy in the here and now and making each day count. I do know at the beginning it's rough. I cried me a million tears at the beginning. Cried. And the crying is good. It's healing. It's helping you through. It's getting rid of all that pain, all that anguish. Just let it out. There's got to be a point, at some point, where your tears are going to dry up. And you have to stand on your own 2 feet and go boldly into the world. And when you do that, it's kind of appreciating each day, because there is awesome stuff that happens every day. And sometimes we're not paying attention to it because we're looking so far ahead. We're looking at 5 years down the road, or next month, or when something happens that we think is going to make us happy. But it's all in today. Not saying that every day is going to be perfect, not saying that every day is going to be great. We're going to have crappy days. And when we do that, we just need to take care of ourselves. Self-care is so important. Buy yourself some flowers. Get yourself a little treat. Go for a nice long walk. Go for a bike ride. Do something that makes you feel good. To me, I think listening to music, I used to take a million baths, so taking a nice soothing bath with candles going, with nice music going, just to chill and say, okay, I'm doing the best I can in this moment to get through it, and tomorrow's another day. And so often that tomorrow was a better day. It wasn't as miserable as the misery I felt the day before. And that's what life is. It's ups and downs, it's all around. And it's important for us, especially going through a divorce, to be able to reflect and to be able to learn how to care for ourselves and our children. It's so important, because what you want is to be able to set the stage to be ready when a relationship appears out of nowhere, when someone appears out of nowhere, that you're ready to face that relationship, and you're ready to deal with it with confidence and with security and feeling self-assured, knowing that, wow, this is right for me and I am ready to move on. I have spent time on my own in my singlehood, and I'm ready to move forward in a really positive way. So that is part one of our divorce talk, if you want to say. Join me next time, where we're going to talk about entering the world of dating. Well, you know, we all have to do it once if we want. But please join us next time. This is Gayle Suzanne, Moving Forward with Gayle Suzanne. You can contact me on my website, gaylesuzanne.com, and have a great night. Thank you.